Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Woo! I love the energy. Okay. I'm clearly in the right room. So first, I just want to welcome you all to the Canadian Women in Cybersecurity Conference. This is a conference that's near and dear to my heart because I just fell in love with it from the first time I went. And last year, I had the chance to speak when it was a virtual conference, and then this year I'm back again speaking in person. So it's great to be here. So the title of my presentation, The Gendered Threat Landscape, Why Women Face Different and More Personal Cyber Attacks. This is also a topic that's near and dear to my heart because I've had friends who've been targeted online for being women, for being Black, for being Jewish, and I just felt as though it's not a conversation that we hear about enough in the conference space, and I wanted to bring this to the stage here today. With the rise of AI and anonymity, what we're also seeing is a huge increase in the prevalence of attacks against women and those a part of the LGBTQI community. So this is becoming more and more of a pertinent issue, and I felt like it's one that needs to be addressed today. I also want to preface this presentation by saying that in no way am I seeking special treatment for women or gender diverse individuals. Really, I want us to raise awareness about a topic that's extremely important and, come together to solution how we can address this particular topic. So the research shows that gender diverse individuals and women face a higher level of digital violence or online harassment and coercion. And this often leads to many mental health impacts such as stress, anxiety, burnout, depression, and panic attacks, just to name a few. From a cybersecurity perspective, this has real implications. It means we lose user trust in our digital systems. It impacts employee safety and productivity, and it ultimately affects organizational risk and reputation. So this is beyond just a cybersecurity issue. This is more than just a social issue. This is a risk management issue that we need to come up with a solution for. So sorry, this is so small. I thought the screens were gonna be bigger. I'm so sorry, I would have made this so much bigger. So I just shared some key definitions, and essentially it's just to level set everyone. For the purpose of today, I'll focus on two key definitions that I'll use quite a bit. So gender diverse, essentially meaning anyone whose gender identity is outside the binary gender identity categories, and gender-linked cyber threats or gendered cyber threats. So cyber threats that are based off gender. So people are targeted specifically because of their gender or because of the fact that they are a part of a particular group of individuals. See, I can't even read that, so we're gonna struggle a little bit today. I'm sorry for that. So targeted online harassment and coordinated abuse. So when we talk about the cybersecurity landscape, what we see is people are being targeted for their gender. They're being targeted for their race. They're being targeted for their sexual orientation. And oftentimes these targeted attacks lead to coordinated abuse, whereby people are being targeted on X or Twitter, then targeted on Facebook, then targeted on LinkedIn, then targeted on Instagram, for example. Social engineering that exploits gender norms. So attackers often tailor their approaches to suit their target, which makes sense in theory, right? If you're trying to attack someone or something, you're going to change your approach based on what that thing or who that person is or what that thing is. We have misuse of personal data and privacy invasion. So essentially what that means is we have doxing attacks that are happening on a rapid or an increasingly growing basis. We also have people sharing doing non-consensual sharing of personal information, such as photos, for example, or videos of a sexual nature to target individuals. And then we have digitally enabled stalking surveillance. So this can include account monitoring, location tracking, and also abuse of shared digital access. So in the event that someone has a shared access with their partner, for example, to a particular system or platform, their partner may leverage that shared access to attack them in person. So now what does this mean from So what does this mean, right? It's interesting to talk about, but what does this mean from a deeper level if we dive in a bit deeper? Well, first we have physical safety risks. So oftentimes when it's cases of stalking or doxing, this leads to people actually getting targeted in person. So these online risks become in-person risks. Mental health and well-being impacts. So I already alluded to this earlier, but we have situations whereby people have to deal with high stress, panic attacks, depression, burnout, and so on and so forth because of the fact that they're being targeted online. We have a chilling effect on participation. So what that means is we have individuals who are actually self-censoring themselves or pulling themselves out of certain platforms or forums just to protect themselves and to protect their mental health. And finally, we have a loss of trust in platforms and more. So what this means is that people lose trust in these systems that were designed or supposed to be designed to protect them. Wow, that's small. So why gender neutrality security falls short? So what I mean by that is when we think about cybersecurity, traditionally speaking, cybersecurity takes the approach of always being gender neutral. Unfortunately, when we're gender neutral, we leave a lot of blind spots. So one of the issues we face is assumption mismatch. So essentially, we make assumptions about gender or race that don't necessarily apply in real life. So we don't create personas or scenarios where those who don't fit a certain or particular characteristics are thought of or considered. Tooling gaps. So we often see that security tools address phishing, malware, unauthorized access, but they don't account for harassment, they don't account for doxing, and that's just to say a few. So incident response gaps, we see traditional response playbooks don't account for non-technical harms, reputational or psychological impacts, or the urgency of removing harmful content or stopping spread. And lastly, reporting gaps. We see an issue whereby there isn't a mechanism to report incidents, so because of that, a lot of incidents don't get reported. So I shared some stats earlier about the current state of digital violence, particularly against women and gender diverse individuals, and that stat is probably underestimated because there are a lot of cases that don't go reported. And I should have asked for water. Designing more inclusive cybersecurity responses. So how do we actually go about designing more gender inclusive cybersecurity responses? How do we actually go about having gender inclusivity in our cybersecurity design? So one way is gender conscious threat modeling. So asking questions like, who is at higher risk? Who is at an uneven, bless your heart. Thank you. See, ask and you shall receive. Thank you so much. How might those threats vary because of the fact that they're women, because of the fact that they're transgender or non-binary? Those are the questions we need to be asking. Next, improved incident response. So recognizing that harassment and doxing are actually legitimate security incidents that we need to build controls for. Clear escalation pathways, so people need to know where to go, what will happen next, and and that they will be supported throughout the process. Lastly, inclusive design benefits everyone. So when we design for edge cases or cases that are outside the norm, we design for everybody. So when we design in a way that can impact the most vulnerable user, we design in a way that can improve the security outcome for everyone considered. I'll use this as a moment to grab water. So, 3 key things I'd like you to take away from today's presentation are: 1, cyber threats are socially shaped. So technology doesn't just exist in a vacuum. Attackers exploit real-world dynamics all the time. They'll, play with power dynamics. They'll play with relationship dynamics. They'll play on dynamics in the workplace to exploit their survivors. So please, if that's anything to think about, please think about that. Secondly, think about the fact that neutral frameworks can overlook real risks. So when we design for gender neutrality, we actually eliminate a lot of individuals in the picture, and it leaves us with a system that is not designed for the most vulnerable user. And finally, inclusive design improves security outcomes. So when we design for the most vulnerable user, when we design for those who are non-binary, when we design for those who are transgender, we design for everyone. When we improve the design of a security control, it improves the design for everyone, not just those who we're designing for. So we often talk about, I feel like we often talk about, like key takeaways, but I wanted to include a slide on, how do we actually turn this awareness into action? What can you, sitting here today, take back to your organization and actually apply in your organization? So one of the things you can do is review controls through a gender-aware lens. So now you're aware of the fact that gender neutrality falls short. You're aware of the fact that we need to include everyone in our designs. How can you bring that back to your organization and say, okay, we need to review our controls to apply this to our controls? Audit policies. So look at your policies and ask questions like, are we adequately protecting gender diverse individuals and employees? You don't need to start from scratch. You can start from where you are now and iterate as much as possible until you get to a point that is better suited. And I also wrote here, start small but intentionally. So small incremental changes can also lead to big impacts in the future if we design carefully. And lastly, integrate into threat modeling and incident response. So make this part of the existing processes, not just a separate track. So integrate everything into what you already have. Start with what you're already doing rather than starting from scratch, because when you start from scratch, you're likely not going to get a lot of buy-in from individuals across the organization. And my final slide, me plugging my social media. I've always looked at cybersecurity as more than just protecting systems, but also protecting people. And I think that's why I wanted to do this presentation today, because I wanted to really look at it from a human-centric lens rather than looking at it from a very technical and very system-based lens. And my last takeaway for you is that who we design for matters. So if we design for those who are most vulnerable, if we design for those who are often left out of the conversation, it results in a situation whereby we have a system or a platform or an app or a device that is considerate of everyone. Thank you. Do we have any questions? Yes. Oh, they're going to bring a microphone. Don't worry.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It was very informative. I have a question regarding doxing. Generally, when there is a breach of personal information, it is like a breach, like it's an incident and it's reported and it's required to be reported under Canadian laws. So what mechanism can we enhance to make sure there's escalation for doxing that's not covered under what already is covered under breach of personal information?
I think it might be a matter of actually enhancing some of our laws and our legal frameworks to account for doxing and actually see it as something that we need to track and consider. I also think of the OPC and IPC when they're doing their breach. They have a category of breaches or incidents that happen that they account for. Doxing isn't one of them. So if we start accounting for doxing in our reporting and in our legal frameworks, I think we can increase the amount of incidents that are actually reported and are accounted for in the statistics, and then design for these different instances in the future.
Thank you for that. So just to follow up, how would you like to see the definition of doxing?
Pardon me?
How would you define doxing in legal? Like, how would you like to see the definition so it would cover that?
I don't know if I have an answer to that right now, but let me get back to you on that, and we can chat about that maybe in the hallway. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Any other questions? And yes, it's the same blazer. Clearly, I like this blazer. Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you enjoy the rest of your conference.